Hello everyone. So I'm going to be painting on this canvas panel, which I added texture to, and I painted over with a pink color. If you want to see a video of me doing that, check my last video. This is what we're painting today, figs. So it's going to be a step-by-step painting of my acrylic painting process. I had some old acrylic paint on this palette here, and I get a lot of questions about, where'd you get that ceramic plate? This is a serving dish that I found at TK Maxx in Bury St. Edmunds. Oh, this was like years ago. I would say like 7 years ago. And I just lucked out, and this was the only one they had. But I've sprayed some glass cleaner on it, and I'm gonna see if I can scrape, oh yeah, it's working already. Scrape the dry paint off, and then I can start. Oh, that's a bit hard. I don't know if this is coming off just yet. Work, work, work. Ooh, usually it's a bit easier than that. Okay, that was a bit better. Pop. This is so satisfying. This is a bit harder. Guess I could use a paint scraper so I don't damage my palette knife, but sometimes I have to make things harder for myself, I guess. Gonna get this all cleaned up, and then, oh, that one's a bit harder. Okay, I'll get this all cleaned up and I will start the painting. See you in a bit. Alrighty, you can see my full setup now. Once I get started on the painting, I might zoom in so you can just see what I'm doing and maybe a bit of the still life here, but I just want to show you my setup. I have my water in here. I have some big white acrylic paint here because I use a lot of it, so I have a big tube. To my left, which you can't see, I have all my acrylic paints in a drawer that I pulled out. So I'm gonna rummage through that to get my painting. So you might hear that later on in the, as I progress with this painting. I have a bit of this high solid gel. It's matte gel by Golden. I'm gonna add a little bit of this into my paint to get some texture. Let's see, I only have a little bit left. I'm running out of this. See? There's not that much, sadly. And then I have my brushes. I have some new brushes here, so I'm going to use them today. These are my old brushes. I don't treat my brushes very well. I don't use them a lot. And I don't paint acrylics in acrylics very often, which is why my setup is kind of all over the place. But that's okay. And let's see what else. Oh, I have pencil and an eraser. I'm gonna draw the still life on here. All right. I think that is it. Let's start painting. All right, so let's sketch this in. This isn't going to be perfect. This is just about showing my process and having a bit of fun. I'm a little bit nervous because it's a long form video and I may make mistakes, but hey, that's gonna be okay. All right, let me see here. I'm gonna map my composition out. So let me think about it first. So I'm just imagining where the oval of the opening of the dish is, where the bottom's gonna go. Yeah, all right. Erase that. Little mistake. Okay. I'll say it starts about there. going to do is mix up a dark red tone. I'm using burnt umber and quinacridone red. See if this will get out of here. Okay, that was hard to come out, but there we go. Don't need to use any additional pastes or anything. I'm just doing a thin wash over it. I'm not going to use a lot of water. I'm going to dry, kind of use a dry brush over and check the color. That's good to go for now. Alright, this is just the first pass, so I'm just going to go around the bowl here. Don't need a pretty brush. Oops, everything's shaking. Okay, so let me get a brush here that I could use for a bit of detail. I'm gonna go for a brush like this. I'm gonna mix up a cream color for the pattern on the cloth here. Don't want to make it too light. This is just to get an idea of where and what the pattern will be. And again, I'm just dry brushing it in. Trying to use minimal water. Okay, let's work on the dark side of the figs. I'm going to mix a bit of, let's use a palette knife, a bit of burnt umber, some, I think this is phthalo blue, and a bit of this violet, and a tiny bit of white. Let's see where we are. Ooh, I think that's a good color. Let me just mix a bit of blue in there. All right, maybe a bit more brown. All right, clean that off on my paper towel. So this is a dry brush again. I haven't dipped it in any water. And now I'm going to add it to just the dark sides of the figs. Take the cadmium yellow light and some phthalo blue to get a green, add a bit of brown to tone it down a little bit because I want it to look a bit, maybe that's a bit too green. I want a mossy, yeah, that's perfect. Let's mix the color for this bowl. Start with some white, a little bit of yellow, some of this blue. I'm gonna start there, see. Ooh, that's a bit too dark, but I'm gonna add some more yellow, maybe a bit of burnt umber to it. That's pretty good. to use this now, the High Solid Gel. It's matte. It's by Golden. It's a very thick matte acrylic medium. I'm going to be adding this to the paint now. So I'm gonna take a little glob of this because it dries quickly when it's out. You see how thick that is? Just gonna sit it, you can't see it, but it's gonna be on the side of my palette. And I'm gonna mix a little bit in this medium and mix it into every paint mix from now on. Okay, so now I have a dark kind of shadow here, and I'm going to lighten up the pink around, and then of course lighten up the pattern, and that will create or start to create you know, a shadow, and where you can see some light areas where the light is hitting the fabric. So this was the first pass. I'm going to do a second pass. I think I'm going to do a third, where I do the brightest parts, which would be around this area. All right, so I'm just going to mix some red with a little bit of white. I think that's a pretty good tone. Can't see what I'm mixing here, but I'm mixing it off camera. Anyway, you'll see in a bit how thick it is now. All right, now that's thick. See what brush I'm going to use. I'll use this brush. So you see how thick that is? That's nice. So I'm just going to lay it on. It's going to show the brush strokes, and that is totally fine. That's what I want. And I'm just reinforcing the pattern. Okay, let's get the cream part in. Oops. There we go. Need to loosen that brush up a bit. It's a little stiff. All right, here we go. last finishing touches on this. A bit more white. And so I don't want to overwork it. I like the way the bowl looks. I just need to add some details. Get more of my paste out. Remember, I'm mixing this into every paint mixture I'm using. Just flip this over. Okay, let's make a light blue-green for the bowl. put the reference photo right there. Boop. And then we'll have this here. You can see that I added a lighter kind of pink. So to the red, which I just had was a quinacridone red with a bit of white, I added a bit of the violet to that mix and put it here, and then added more white to the cream mix. So you're getting, you know, more of the light source, and it's getting cooler because I use an outdoor lamp, you know, so it's a cool light onto the subject, not a warm light. And you can see all the texture. How's that? Pretty cool, right? It's drying pretty quickly here, which, you know, I like. You can do a lot of things with the broken color. You don't have to mix everything, you know, I'm not trying to make it look like oils. But this is kind of, yeah, a glimpse into how I use acrylic paints. I hope you enjoyed the video today. It's a longer video. I hope it was informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye for now. Bye.